Hello and welcome to another episode on Mars Bonsai channel. Today is Q&A episode dedicated to cuttings. Some times ago I was making few videos how I'm using this kind of cheap plastic boxes for propagation. I was using those boxes for different type of cuttings from different type of plants, mainly Acer palmatum in different cultivars. You can see the list of successful cuttings I was doing in this kind of boxes. You can check all the previous videos where I'm using these boxes and how I'm actually making them and what's my setup. After one season I can tell you that I needed to make some tweaking to my method. I received several questions regarding the cuttings and different substrates and other different questions. So let me start. I'm still using those boxes. This is the new one without holes, everything. So this is basically the most common size I'm using. What I can tell you after 1 year, I would recommend, in case you have a space, to use a little bit taller boxes and maybe wider and longer. Of course, it will be more challenging to carry them, but I will explain you later why I would opt for a little bit bigger boxes this year in case I have to start over. One of the major issues I found out is the weight of my media. If you are going to check my older videos, you can see that I'm using zeolite as a drainage, really large fraction of zeolite on the bottom, and as a rooting media I was using very small zeolite. I think it was 1 to 2 millimeters or something like this, very small. My setup with this zeolite worked quite well for a rooting. It was exceptionally well set up for rooting of cuttings. Everything was fine. Where I found the problem was when I was repotting the cut. I found out that my choice of substrate and my choice of fractions wasn't really lucky. Why is that? Because the zeolite, as a matter of fact, is very heavy. One of the heaviest substrate you can use from anorganic substrate. The only comparable weight is lava. So lava is very heavy also, especially when wet. Also zeolite is very heavy. When wet, extremely heavy. So for many years I'm scaling back my use of zeolite for really big trees. Most of my trees are quite large, so I'm not using zeolite anymore, and sometimes I'm using it only as an addition in case I have to. And for rooting of cuttings, I thought that when I will put the zeolite into quite small box, it will be okay. For carrying of boxes, it was okay. But where I miscalculated my setup, when my cuttings were rooted, they pushed the roots through the fine fraction of media, and many times with successful cuttings, with different type of plants, they push the roots down into the bottom into drainage media. All these substrate soaked with water was so heavy that when repotting these cuttings from the boxes into some kind of plastic containers was really difficult. I was looking for a solution how not to destroy the cuttings during the repotting session. So what I did, that I kept the cuttings in the box. I cut off the bottom of the box with a flywheel. You can see how I did that. I lift the sides and I was slowly repotting the successful cuttings. I was trying to remove slowly, very carefully with a bamboo stick and with other tools. I was removing these heavy parts of zeolite and big fractions of soil, and I was repotting them like this. It was hell of a job. It wasn't really clever. And when facing this scenario, I was starting to think, how can I tweak my setup in a different way? Thinking about the weight, I was thinking what kind of media is commonly used and what is available to me. So I came with the conclusion, and I can show you. I decided to use perlite. Why I did that? Because it's the lightest substrate I could find. So this is 3-liter bag of perlite, and this is the same container of zeolite and perlite, and I have a small scale here, and you can see that if I take zeolite, it's 1 kilo, yeah? Maybe a little bit more than 1 kilo. And if I take the same amount of perlite, both substrates are dry. The scale barely moved. So this perlite is extremely light. I was checking how the other growers are, what kind of media they are using, and I find out that perlite is very commonly used. And one of my theories is that the really light weight of this perlite substrate is very big advantage when your cuttings already rooted and you are going to repot them from the perlite. As a drainage, I started to use a really large fraction of pumice, really big rocks. Also, when dry, very light, when wet, a little bit heavier, but still very easy to work with. I'm using the boxes with 8mm holes. So either I could have used much smaller holes, but my experience is that when I'm using like 4mm holes, the water is not draining out from the box so well. So all the boxes are drilled with 8mm holes, so I need something bigger than 8mm. I have this pumice with big fraction and very light, so I'm trying this year as a drainage. And for a rooting media, I'm trying to use the perlite. I have already the box with a pure perlite, I will show you later. And as an addition to the perlite, coconut husk. So I bought the brick of the coconut husk, which I cut, soaked in the water. It's really also very light. All those substrates have one important property, and this is that they are inert. There should be no biological or fungal contamination, and this is one of the important things. I will come back to this issue later. As one of the alternatives, I'm also using the combination of these boxes with this kind of coconut tablets, which are available in DIY stores in my area. And when they are dry and fresh from the shop, they look like this. You throw them into the water, they soak and they expand like this, and you apply the cutting into this kind of coconut substrate. It has huge advantage. It's, in my opinion, the success rate of cuttings made with this kind of tablets is very high. It works really well. What I did last year and also this year, that I was making cuttings. These are elms from wild, I don't know what kind of elm it is, but I liked it because it has very small foliage. So I put 2 free cuttings into this coconut tablet, place them into the box, put the zeolite around it so they can be kept wet, and close them. You can see how the vapor is closed here. I just sprayed a little bit with tiny amount of water. Those cuttings are there from 23rd of May. I think some of them may already have roots, because when I try to pull them, they are already looking like they are fixed. So this is one of the possible solutions I'm using. And I was using this kind of setup for, I think, those Acer palmatum katsura cutting. Most probably these katsura maples are the most successful cuttings I did last year. A lot of them survived. A lot of them, you can see, this is very fresh growth. They are doing really well. I have a couple others outside. Most probably some desperate forest will follow next year. It's really lovely cultivar. It's easy to work, easy to root, easy to air layer. If you are looking for any kind of future cultivar into your collection, think about Katsura. It's top notch. It's really, really great. The colors in the spring and then in the autumn are amazing. The change of colors is something beautiful on mature trees. So I was using this setup with these Katsuras, and they were really well. They made it during the repotting. Everything was fine. I wasn't so lucky with other cultivars. The Shoujo maples struggled. Only few succeeded and only few survived winter. So I was thinking how to maybe reduce the risk, which also in this setup is significant. It means that when they are rooted, what these cuttings in this kind of setup are doing, that they will grow the roots outside from this coconut husk. When you are repotting it, also I was cutting away the sides and taking it very carefully from the sides out and pot them into small pots. And I was thinking if I can eliminate these steps. And I came with this setup, which I also tried this year for the first time. I don't know if it will work or not. So I took very small containers. I took the coconut tablet, put two free cuttings into the tablet and buried it into the zeolite, and then put it into the box. The box has a drainage layer, which is not the drainage in that sense, but there is a layer of substrate which is keeping and helping to keep the moisture and the wet atmosphere inside the box. Now I'm coming back to the issue why I would recommend to use a little bit higher boxes, and also maybe for the future I will buy bigger and higher boxes. Because if this setup will be successful, it's better to have higher box and more space for this kind of small containers to be put inside the box and be closed with a lid. Of course, with the ventilation holes, the excess vapor can go out and fresh air can go in, so you can prevent fungal infection of your cuttings. I think if this will be successful, this is few of these Deshojos, they are there. I don't have a tag. Yeah, I have a tag. So they were made on 26th of May 26, 2025. It's not enough to have roots, but foliage for now looks quite well. It looks they are okay. What I'm doing with this kind of setup is that I'm eliminating the repotting. No repotting into the small container, no manipulation with the fresh roots, nothing. So they will stay like this. If they will survive, they most probably stay outside or in a cold garage. And after overwintering, they will go out, and I will see how they will do. I will report, of course, next year. So this is my second setup. Also, I'm using the traditional method. I'm also trying, these are Carpinus orientalis cuttings from one of my collected trees from Croatia. You maybe ask why I'm trying to root the hornbeam, oriental hornbeam cuttings, if everybody knows that cuttings from hornbeams are not successful. The thing is that I tried the cutting from the hornbeam 2 years ago, and it took it some time, but after 1 year I did only one cutting, but it survived. So I had 100% survival rate on Carpinus orientalis cutting. I decided that I will try it, and maybe it will be small orientalis forest if it will be successful. If not, not. They are not looking, I don't know, some really, really well, but they are okay. So maybe they will be successful, maybe not. We will see. Let me talk a little bit about the questions which I received regarding the cuttings and my setups and few issues related. One of the first questions I received a very long time ago, and it was really good question. Why I'm talking so much around cuttings and trying to do different setups, and I'm trying to test different kind of approaches. The thing is that if you are trying to root few cuttings, You can do it basically in any kind of substrate without any kind of help. You just need to take a lot of cuttings, few dozens, maybe hundreds, put them into whatever substrate you want to use and place them into almost whatever condition. You don't need to use any kind of boxes. You don't need to mess too much with that, and some of those will root. The problem is, in case you would like to rise your success rate somewhere where industrial propagators are achieving, yes, if you want to have, I don't know, 50, 70, 80% success rate, then you need to think about substrate, about humidity, about the way how you take the cuttings, about the direction, how you are applying it to the substrate, how you are, like, let's say, watering or not watering the cuttings after applying the hormone and the gel, so you are not washing out the gel, and you need to think about way too many details. And if you are doing it really carefully, you may actually increase the success rate dramatically. And this is the difference between average Joe in the middle of, I don't know, Nebraska, who is trying to do few cuttings from his neighbor's maple, and he would like to have one new tree. Then you can do it in whatever way you try. But if you would like to have many trees, for example, you would like to propagate your own material for a future forest planting or something like this, you need dozens of plants. And if your mother tree is not big enough and you are not able to take so many cuttings, you have to think about the ways how to increase your efficiency, how to increase your success rate. And this is the way how you can increase the success rate. Not to use traditional soil, but to use inert soils. If it's zeolite or perlite or whatever, coconut husk, coconut fiber, something like this. In my experience, it proved to be that it's better to have something extremely light and without any kind of contamination from fungal or biological infections, which can destroy the batch of cuttings through the cut point of your cutting placed into the substrate. That's why the people who want to succeed with many cuttings and have a high success rate, they need to take particular care about what kind of substrate they are using and what kind of methods they are using. The question, if you can put the cuttings into normal soil, of course you can do it. As I said, you can take many cuttings, place them into normal black soil without anything, and most probably some of them, maybe 10%, maybe if you are lucky 20% will survive, maybe in some cases only 5%, but in case you put 100 cuttings, 5 of plants could survive. The question is how many of those cuttings will survive after the winter. So this is the things you have to take into the consideration. The last year I had, I don't know, a few dozens of Shin de Shoujo maples which were successfully rooted. When I repotted them into the small pots, some of them died. After the winter, many of them died, so I have only about 5 of them now. So this is the thing you have to take into the consideration. How many cuttings you are able to keep alive into the season number 2, season number 3, when the plant is big enough to live on own roots successfully and survive any kind of fungal infections or any kind of insect attack. That's why planting into the traditional soil is not for everybody. We have to understand that there are people who are propagating plants for commercial uses, who are selling little plants to different customers, maybe to different bonsai people. For them, if the success rate is 20% or 75%, makes a big difference. You have very small, maybe mother plants, you have limited supply of cutting material, so you better do all necessary steps to prevent your cuttings from dying during the rooting process, or dying during the overwintering, or dying during the repotting. So every aspect is important, and that's why I think it's clever to test viability of different methods to see if there are some which are more optimal or are better for survival rate. The rooting in normal soil is also, the question is maybe linked to the growing the future material in normal soil. If you have successful cuttings, maybe rooted in normal soil, if you can continue in growing them in normal soil, of course you can do. Not everybody has access to anorganic soils like pumice, like akadama, like zeolite, and not everybody has the means to buy a lot of bags of quite expensive substrate. So many people are growing in normal soils. Of course it's working. Many people are doing it for hundreds of years, but you just have to adjust your watering and your feeding regime to the substrate you have. You cannot apply the methods of feeding and methods of watering which are used with anorganic substrate to traditional soils and vice versa. So this is all regarding the success rate of cuttings. Few other things we can talk about, and these are related to plant which you are using for cuttings. This is the Trident maple, and now I'm making cuttings from those kind of Trident maples. Going back to the source plant of your mother plant of your cuttings, according to scientific literature, you have to take into account two things. The one thing is if the mother plant is not old and it's juvenile. There are some experiments done on different type of plants which are saying that the younger your source material is, the more juvenile it is, the better success rate you are able to achieve with your cuttings. So in case this tree is only 2 years old or 3 years old, it's very juvenile, most probably the success rate of cuttings taken from 3 years old or 1 year old cutting or seedling will be much higher, and we are speaking like compared to very old tree. In case I'm going to take the cutting from tree which is 50 years old, the success rate could be the triple or quadruple. In case you are going to take cuttings from any kind of plants, think about it, that the younger the source material is, the better are chances that your cuttings will survive. You will have the higher success rate. The second thing is that you can see on this huge plant that this is apical part, and these are some kind of side branches. And also, according to proven scientific experiments, cuttings which are taken from side branches will behave as mature trees differently. They may have different grow habit as the trees which were grown from the cuttings from apical area. Also take this into the consideration, and when you are going to take the cuttings, try to separate your cuttings from the side branches into one batch and the apical cuttings into different batch, and try to check if you will see in 2, 3, 4 seasons different grow habit of the material which you propagated, because there could be significant difference in the growth habit. Maybe the trees which are from side branches, from bottom of the tree, will have more, let's say, wider grow habit, and the trees which will be grown from the apical cuttings, from taking from apex part of the tree, from the branches which are growing in an upward direction, they will be more taller. They will be less prone to create ramification and things like that. So think about that. This is something I read in the book dedicated to propagation. So maybe next time you can think about what kind of branch is your source branch for the next batch of cuttings. These are my first Tridents taken a few weeks ago. We will see how they will do. So far they are doing well. Regarding my setup, which is in this box, I will talk in one of the next episodes. That's all for today. Thank you very much for watching and see you next time.